All right, so now that we've gone through the grammar and the structure of the language, let's just walk through real quick and speak about some of that grammar as it applies to the prayer. Okay, so we'll start with the Pater Noster. Okay, so Pater Noster is our Father, of course. You see that the pronoun comes after the noun, right? Qui es in celis. We already talked about the use of in and how the ending of the noun changes based off of what preposition is used, right? Sanctificetur is passive. Okay, so we didn't talk about a lot of that detail, but that is the passive voice. Nomen tuum, your name, right? So again, the pronoun is coming after the noun. Adveniat regnum tuum, come or may come, kingdom your, right? So the word order is a little bit different there. Fiat, may it be done, you or will yours, voluntas tua. So again, pronouns coming after the noun. Sicut in cielo et in terra, as it is in heaven and on the earth. Okay. So again, the endings to the endings to the verb indicates what the voice, mood, tense, etc. is, and the ending to the noun tells you how it's being used in the sentence. Panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie. So da is give, right? So give to whom? Nobis, right? Because nobis is being used in the case to indicate that it's we are the recipients of the daily bread, right? And hodie being the adverb of when, today, or this day, right? Et is and, dimite nobis debita nostra. So again, so remit us, or remit from us, or to us, or however you want to say it in English, our debts, or debts ours. Again, the pronoun is coming after the noun. Sicut, again, as. Sicut et is actually a phrase together, right? Sicut et, just as we forgive debitoribus nostris, debtors our. Okay? So in the nostrum, nobis, nobis, nos, and nostris are all different forms of the same pronoun.
Which is our?
We or our, right? So it's the first person plural personal pronoun being used in different ways, in different cases. So again, the cases is how the noun is being used. Et ne nos inducas, you do not lead us in tentationem, in temptation, of course, we know that. Sed, but libra nos a malo, amen. Free us from evil. Now, we didn't talk about adjectives much, but we did mention, predicate adjectives. But remember that adjectives can be used substantially. That means an adjective can be used to denote a person or a group. One of the common ones that we'll use, at least in Christian circles, is the poor or the hungry. Like when we speak about the corporal works of mercy, feed the hungry, instruct the ignorant, right? Those are all adjectives, but they're being used to describe a person or persons. The thing about translation is that you can translate malo, which is an adjective, in two ways. You can translate it as the substantive of deliver us from evil as evil, or the substantive of the person, the evil person, or the evil one. So one of the important things about translation is always remember that there is always some kind of interpretation when there is translation.
Would it be the same word in those two instances?
Mm-hmm. Malo. You just capitalize it if you mean the devil.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Well, the Bible says evil one.
Well,
Yeah.
but what does the Bible actually say? Because the
Yeah,
Bible
what
is
does it
not written in
actually say?
English.
What does it actually say then? When Christ,
Well, in the Latin Vulgate it says malo.
Capital M? Or
Well,
lowercase m?
I don't know, but
We don't
capitalization is also interpretation, right?
yes.
That's what I'm saying is if they translated it, or if they printed it.
Oh, that's true.
Uh-huh. So again, it's very interesting. It works better in Italian because the Italian words for trader and translator are the exact same word with one letter off. A little bit close, it's kind of close in Spanish as well. But in
Trader.
Italian, they say that the translator is a traitor.
Yeah.
You can't, because all you have to do is, there may be two legitimate ways of translating a word, and you can put your own meaning,
Your bias.
your bias in it.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why we study the scriptures in the original language, right?
Which is?
Well, it depends, Hebrew or Greek.
The Hebrew or Greek.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. So
When
go
you
ahead.
say depends Hebrew or Greek, would you talk about like Old Testament versus New Testament?
Yes,
Different
Most
books.
of the New Testament are all was Greek?
yes.
Okay, so those New Testament writers.
I think the only exception, I think Matthew was originally written in Hebrew and then translated into Greek.
Okay.
So go ahead, let's do the same thing. Let's walk through the Hail Mary for a minute, just to look at some of the nuances of language. And I also want to add a couple of extra comments as we go. So Ave is is not an inflected word. Ave is a formal hello, right? And just like in English, there's no way to decline hello. It's just hello, right? So hail, right? Mary, full of grace. So Mary, full of grace, is the same case as Mary because it's in a positive. It's being used to describe, to modify Mary as full of grace, right? Although, of course, we know that the angel actually doesn't address her as Mary, but addresses her as full of grace, right? What case would Maria be in here, in this case? Vocative, right? Because you're talking to Mary,
Oh.
right? So Dominus tecum. Now tecum is actually two words, but there are some, well, it's really two words, and there are other ways in English that, or in Latin that this occurs. But for example, here you have, I'm trying to see if there's an example in the Our Father of this. I don't think so. No. So cum means with, and te, it would be you, right? So this is with you combined as tecum, all right? So the Lord with you. Notice that there is no form of the verb to be here. It's just Lord with you.
Yeah.
Okay? I forgot the grammatical term for this, but this is a legitimate sentence in Latin where you don't have the verb to be. That when you don't have the verb to be, it's implied that the two words that it's missing between are the same thing, right? The Lord is with you, right? Benedicta, blessed, right? Benedicta or benedictus really just means well said, right? Because literally a blessing is to say something good, right? Except in the case of well, all words have power, and saying good things always has a positive thing, and saying bad things always has a negative effect. But when a priest does it, of course, it has even more of an effect, right? Because of grace. But benedicta, blessed you. So again, there's no R in there. It's just blessed you. Blessed you among women. So again, here's a version of in, which does not necessarily mean in. It means among, right? Blessed are you among women. So mulier would be the nominative, I believe, but mulieribus is the case that goes with in this case, right? So the ending changes to accommodate to it. Et benedictus. Now you had benedicta because it was referring to Mary, and she is feminine. But the fructus ventris tui Jesus is,
Fruit is some other.
well, Jesus is what? Masculine, right? So that's why benedicta and benedictus have different endings, because they're referring to different gendered nouns. Just saying phrases like that in today's world makes me feel all dirty because it sounds like I'm woke, but I'm not, okay? I'm not doing that. This is a legitimate difference in gender, okay? Fructus ventris tui Jesus, Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis. Again, so the nobis is the form of we that goes with pro, for, right? Peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostrae. Amen. So let's conclude then with any further questions, particularly on these two prayers. Anything that just, I mean, I know, other than the fact that this is new for some of you and difficult for all of you, is there anything in particular that jumps out that you want to ask that might be for the good of everybody? Or do you just need time to soak this in and process it? Probably the latter, I would say.
Probably the latter.
I
Yeah.
have general questions about adjectives, you might have went over. 'em.
Well, let's go with, we can do, yeah, as long as it's grammar, and then,
Like in French, a red
Yes.
ball would be a ball red, the adjective comes after the noun.
right.
And in Latin, it comes before, or after?
So let's find a good example, if we see if we have an example of one.
Yeah.
Adjective. You said adjective?
Yeah. I don't, I'm blanking on an example, but I'm pretty sure it does come after, just like the pronouns do.
Like in French, the adjective comes after. the-
Well, I mean, French being a Romance language, that's where it would have come from.
No, Little German is more like us.
Well, yeah, because a lot of our grammar stuff comes from German.
So, the Latin came first and then the Spanish,
Mhm.
it's actually derivative, you have a lot of Spanish in this.
Right, so Spanish, French, Italian, Portuguese, and I think it's Romanian. Romanian are all Romance languages, and they all come from Latin. Now, over the centuries, of course, their differences evolved, but you still see a lot of the same roots. The biggest issue, I think, is in pronunciation, especially with French. God save the French. I don't understand why they have to pronounce things so difficultly. But yeah, there's that they're all from Latin. So,
About Our Father, we say, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, but in Latin it is, cello comes before tierra.
oh yes, uh-huh.
So, is that, but would you read it Latin on earth as in heaven, or is it in heaven as it is?
So
on earth?
literally, so we're on the line that in the Pater Noster that begins sicut. So sicut in cielo et in terra. So sicut et is a idiom, okay? It's not a literal translation.
Okay.
Literally, it would be just as in heaven as in on earth. Which, if I said that to you, you'd look at me funny, but you would probably know what I mean, right?
When you kind of translate that, then it comes true
Right.
on earth as it
Mhm.
was in heaven, as it is in
Mhm.
heaven, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything
I
else?
have one more just general question about, I don't really, I really love the Latin and everything, but I don't see me understanding all of this. the
Yeah, and you
grammar
don't have to
and
understand.
stuff, and, like when I went to Germany, I didn't study all of the grammatical stuff.
Correct.
But I eventually came to be able to communicate
Right,
what
so-
I needed.
So for the sake,
This could be the same?
For the sake of the microphone, since it didn't pick up what you just said, let me repeat it, because this is
Okay.
something that I would like in the video. So, it goes back to what I said earlier. What he asked was about not knowing that he's not gonna be able to remember all of this, or learn this, but that just like, so his German came from immersion, and that's actually what I'm hoping y'all would do. This helps, you will actually find yourself noticing differences in noun endings, for example. You may not know what they are, but you're gonna say, hey, I recognize there's a difference there. That's the same word as this one, but it's being used in a different way. Don't know what it is, but I know that I see that's what's going on. So, as I said at the very beginning though, just to reiterate it, because it's what you're saying is, so you talked about learning your German by immersion, and there's something to be said for that, right? And that's exactly my point about Latin in the church. Latin should have been learned, at least the pronunciation and the tunes and everything else, by immersion. But since we had generations of bishops and priests rejecting it, you didn't get that, and so it's much more difficult to get it now. Basically, for anyone who might be watching this who needs to hear this, if nothing else, and I know I'm not talking to you necessarily, but spread the word if you need to. If nothing else, for the sake of the people who are able to learn it by immersion now, the younger people who are there, et cetera, suffer through it for their sake, right? It would not be just for me to hold them back just because a large demographic of the parish is not capable of the absorbing. I know if you're here tonight, you're not, you don't have that attitude, but other people do. And so if you're talking to them, it's like, look, just do it for the children, right? Okay, just for the sake of the people who are growing up now, let's just do this so that those who are capable can pick it up. And they pick it up. I mean, not just little children, I mean, all ages, but you go to the youth group on Wednesday night, there's a lot of fairly good response, for the responses, so. But good question, yeah. Good, all right. Let's go ahead and end with prayer then. We'll pray the Ave Maria together. And since we're used to doing things in choir back and forth, the seminarians can help you with the second half. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus.
Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostrae. Amen.
In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. All right, very good.